Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Monday, June 14th. Ian Cameron with you. We are excited and ready for another playoff day of action following yesterday, where we saw Game 1 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Islanders get underway. Tonight, it's Game 1 in the Montreal Canadiens Vegas Golden Knights series. We will preview that game. Side total, player props. We'll really be diving into a few more player props now that we're down to just one game on a daily basis to talk about here on the Ice Guys show. But before we get to tonight, as we always do, we look back on the previous day. And what we look back on was just an absolute clinic by the New York Islanders. Just an outstanding letter-perfect game in how you win on the road in the playoffs. Terrific job by the Islanders. 2-1 victory for the Islanders in that game. We will be bringing Jimmy Murphy along in momentarily, by the way, and he correctly predicted not only the Islanders winning that game, but the exact final score, a 2-1. Makes me wish I had bet the Islander 2-1 score prop in that game, which would have been an insane price. But nevertheless, a great performance by the Islanders yesterday. And they are a team that Jimmy mentioned this too after when he recapped the Bruins-Islanders series on Friday's show. He said, basically when the Bruins had the puck, there was an Islander jersey draped all over them, all over the ice. That was the case. There was no time. There was no space to make any plays with the puck. That's the same thing I saw yesterday in the game against Tampa Bay. There was no time. There was no space for the Islanders or for the Lightning rather, to make a play with the puck, either make a pass to a teammate, either get a shot away. It was always contested pucks. That was basically the New York Islanders all over the ice yesterday, contesting pucks every single time that the Tampa Bay Lightning had it. And they shut down and put the clamps down on a very, very tough to stop offensive team. 5-on-5, the Lightning didn't do much. The power play really didn't do anything until they got that late goal on a cheap call late in the game. Other than that, I mean, it was just a great defensive effort from the Islanders yesterday. Barry Trotz shows you again how well prepared he always has his team. Like, he had the extra time, and look what he did with it. He had his team ready to play an outstanding game. Commitment all over the ice defensively. Even the forwards with the back pressure, with the back checking, were all helping out defensively. It was an outstanding job top to bottom. This blue line for the Islanders continues to get better as well. Nick Leddy, Adam Pelech, Ryan Pulock, who had a bomb of a shot from the point to give the Islanders a big 2-0 goal. These are blue liners that deserve some accolades. They deserve some attention. They go through the whole season playing with a smaller market like the Islanders. They don't get the attention. People don't realize how good some of these blue liners are on this Islanders team, like Adam Pelech, Ryan Pulock, Nick Leddy, Noah Dobson, who just keeps getting better and better, this young kid. On that blue line for them. Well, they're finding out now. Varlamov solid in net again. And what's dangerous for the Islanders, too, is they're not only finding ways to score, they're actually one of the top teams in the playoffs of the four remaining teams in terms of offense, in terms of goals scored. But now you got Matthew Barzal heating up. And they won the Pittsburgh series despite him not doing a whole lot. They ended up, winning the early part of the Boston series with Barzal really not generating a lot offensively. Well, now he has found his game again. 4 straight games with a goal. He got the first goal of Game 1 yesterday. He's feeling it. It's a dangerous team. They seem to be getting better with each game. I found they didn't play great at times against Pittsburgh, but they found a way to win. Struggled in the first game against Boston, but they got better and better as that series went on. And I thought they had their best game of the playoffs, Jimmy, Game 6, to close out the Bruins. And I thought they even exceeded that with their performance yesterday in Game 1 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're playing better with each game. Dangerous team, even though the odds don't indicate that this was a dangerous team going into this series. The Islanders made a loud statement in Game 1 on Sunday. We're here to compete. We won't take a backseat to anyone, and we're going to make this a very, very difficult series on the defending Stanley Cup champion, Tampa Bay Lightning. Long way to go. There's no need to panic if you're Tampa Bay. They're a very good team, usually off a loss, and I'm sure you're going to see them play a lot better in Game 2. But this is going to be a tough series for them. I think we've certainly got a loud message that is going to be the case from the New York Islanders yesterday with a very impressive Game 1 win. Jimmy Murphy, will bring him in now to talk about Game 1 and his absolutely nailed it call on that game. Not only the Islanders winning, but 2-1, the exact final score. Jimmy, We got. If I had a hat, I'd tip it right now and say, "Job well done."
I did say overtime. I did say overtime, so I was wrong there. But yeah, I nailed the score. But I wish I had listened to myself too and bet that. But just talking about the Islanders and your description of them, it almost felt like I was about, I don't know, about 6 hours ago. We were talking to Bruce Cassidy, the Boston media that was, when he did his end of the season media availability, and he pretty much described it just like you. And he said he felt the main difference between the Islanders and the Bruins in that series were two things. So I guess the two main differences would be how to describe it. He said exactly what you said, was that they had huge second periods. That was a huge factor. But also, they did get better as the series went on. But in the games that they weren't better, they found ways to win, and the Bruins didn't. No matter what the odds were in the game or where they were in the game, they adapted well. He admitted to basically being outcoached by Trotz. We got to look at that too as a factor in their success, obviously. But just the way they adapt and the way they find ways to win, he thought was the biggest difference there. And obviously, that's what you need to do in the playoffs. And look, when the team, I know it was only a minute and so that they had to battle it off there at the end the other day in game one. But they still they had some pressure. That place was starting to rock again. You could have thought in your head, oh boy, here we go. We're going to go to overtime. They're going to blow it. But they don't. They don't crack under pressure. And I think that's what, a lot of people may be underestimating about this Islanders team, is the experience they gained with that run they had last year in the bubble. I think that's helping them a lot right now.
Yeah, it sure is. And let's not forget, they took Tampa to 6 last year, and there were a lot of one-goal games in that series. So, yeah, it was Tampa Bay was the better team. There's no question, and they played a really good series. But even the Islanders, for even an Islanders team that I don't think is as good last year as they are now, and that's what's crazy to say about that is that they don't even have Anders Lee right now. And yet I still feel right now they're playing better and tougher than they were last year at that time, which just goes to show you what this team is accomplishing right now. It's a complete game. And we're finding out teams that hound the puck all over the ice, especially when they don't have the puck, they are the teams that are having the success. Vegas did the same thing against Colorado. Puck hounds. Every time Colorado had the puck, Vegas is breathing down their neck. And they're here in the Final Four. Islanders, the same thing. You could even say Montreal as well. They've really played that way in these playoffs. They didn't give Toronto much time and space late in that series. Same with Winnipeg, especially in that final game where they clinched it. The players that are just taking away time and space, it's almost like we're going back a little bit now. We're seeing all of a sudden, being able to defend as a 5-man unit on the ice is really showing up now at playoff time again. And we're getting back to those days where you need a little grit, you need a little physicality, you need that little extra edge to battle and compete for loose pucks. Those are the teams that are here right now, still standing in the Stanley Cup semifinals, and the New York Islanders, one of those teams for sure. All right, let's turn our attention, Jimmy, to tonight. I can't wait for this series. It's fascinating. It's got the fan bases of both the Canadians and the Golden Knights going back and forth on Twitter, which is kind of fun to see that. Montreal and Vegas, game one gets underway tonight at T-Mobile Arena, the Fortress, as they like to call it. Vegas minus 260, home favorites here in game one. The total 5.5, shaded to the under in this game. Obviously, for the Montreal Canadiens, longer layoff for them prior to this game than Vegas. How will that affect them? We'll have to wait and see, because we did see the Lightning, who had the longer layoff against the Islanders going into game one, end up losing to the Islanders in game one. Will that impact Montreal a little bit, having the longer layoff? We'll have to wait and see. This is going to be one of those series, Jimmy, and I've said this already, I think, on a show that I did this week. I think it was Saturday's show. This is going to be a series where, from a value standpoint, it's going to be difficult for me, even in spots where I think I like Vegas in this series. It's going to be difficult for me to pull the trigger, because I just think, kind of like the Lightning and the Islanders series, this game, the series price and the game-to-game prices are a little bit mispriced. They really are. They're in the wrong range. I didn't think the Lightning should have been in that range they were yesterday or in the series, and I feel that way about Vegas and Montreal. Like, the series price is minus 550. You got to risk $550 to win $100 on Vegas to win this series in some spots. They are pricing this like it's just no comparison, no contest, and I don't know if I see it that way. Obviously, Vegas does have a little bit of an advantage in the terms of the overall roster. I get that. Their blue line, look, it's terrific. It's phenomenal. And it played great against a dangerous Colorado team. It's hard to argue with when you can put out an Alex Pietrangelo, Alec Martinez, Stanley Cup winners, Braden McNabb, Shea Theodore as your top 4 defensemen. That's as good as it gets. And I understand all of that. But Montreal's playing the same kind of style that Vegas has used to their advantage for success as well. I see a mirror image series. I see not a whole lot to choose from. In fact, I like that Montreal's gotten their forwards all stepping up 1 through 12, all 4 lines up front. Early in the season, we talked about this many times on this show, how they relied too much on Tyler Toffoli and Josh Anderson, who are carrying the team offensively for a large part of the season. That hasn't been the case in the playoffs. Kotkaniemi's scored. Suzuki's been big. Yoel Armia has chipped in offensively for them. All of a sudden, we've seen Artturi Lehkonen, who just got into the playoffs late in the Winnipeg series, start to score. Yoel Armia scoring goals for this Montreal team. They're all of a sudden getting a little bit from all 4 lines, which they weren't, obviously, for much of the season. The defense, I worry about the 5-6 guys. There's no question. Romanov's a young guy. Brett Kulak's nothing to write home about. He's the weakest by far of this blue line. Eric Gustafsson, good on the power play, good offensively, but he can be a nightmare at times in his own zone. I get all that. But if I'm Dominic Ducharme, do you know what I do tonight? You've been off for a while. All right? There's no reason to not play Shea Weber, Joel Edmondson, Ben Sherratt, Jeff Petrie, if he plays, although I don't think he's going to tonight. The latest I heard was that he's probably going to miss this game and maybe look to be back in game 2. But you play the hell out of those 3 guys tonight. Weber, Edmondson, and Sherratt. They're your 3 best defensemen. I don't want to hear this nonsense. Oh, but I can't play them 30 minutes. To hell with that. They've been off for a week. They're fresh. They're as rested as can be. Play them tonight. Don't put Kulak out there for a ton. Put him out in spot situations, but you roll with these 3 guys tonight on this blue line more than anybody else. I mean, there's no reason not to. This is the spot where you can go a little, extend the minutes for your top blue liners and your top defensemen because you've been off for a long period of time. That is definitely something that I'd like to see him do. And if he does that, that's good because they've been good. They've been absolutely terrific, those 3 on the blue line for the Montreal Canadiens. So to me, I look at it, their forwards have stepped up Montreal. And you could say that about Vegas too. You're seeing Nicholas Hague, William Carrier. We're talking about 4th-line guys that scored big goals for Vegas late in that series. So they're getting some depth forward production. And just like with Montreal, Jimmy, we were worried too much reliance on Toffoli and Anderson. I was worried about that early in these playoffs for Vegas, that they were relying too much on Stone, Pacioretty, and Marchessault, and not getting a whole lot from anybody else. But finally, we saw Carlson hit the scoreboard late in the Colorado series. If Riley Smith gets going, and he's capable, he's streaky, but Riley Smith, if he can get going for the Vegas Golden Knights, that could be a difference maker for them. I find that they're a lot more even in the 4 forward lines, a lot more even on defense. And look, it's a wash in net with Carey Price and Marc-Andre Fleury. They're both playing at an extremely high level right now. There's no denying that. And Marc-Andre Fleury coming into this game, you talk about the schedule makers doing Vegas a favor. This is the perfect amount of time off since the Colorado series. 3 days, so they're not going right into this series. They still get a little bit of rest, especially for Fleury. That's big. There are things I think that point me a little bit toward Vegas here, but I am not at all going to be betting them at minus 270 at any point in this series. And hell, even if you want to go Vegas in regulation here, you're talking about minus 150. Minus 145, minus 150 is what you're looking at for Vegas in regulation tonight. It's just difficult to see that as value when I think these 2 teams are a lot closer and a lot more competitive than the game 1 money line suggests, than what the series price suggests as well. So this is a game where I don't have a strong feel for side or total for that matter, but I would probably have to lean to the under. We did see a low scoring game 1 Tampa Islanders yesterday. These are 2 good goalies. I think the fact that Fleury's got some days off, he's ready, he'll be fresh, he'll be on his game. as well. So I would lean under 5.5 here. I don't have anything in terms of the side in this game, but I will reiterate what I have bet in terms of the series, because I've mentioned it on Friday's show and Saturday's show. I'm on the over 5.5 games at -112. And I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that price. Over 5.5 games, -112. Basically, even money that this series goes at least 6 games. And I don't have to worry about who wins it at that point. Just go to 6 games and that bet cashes. And that's a big bet for me. I mentioned that. This is actually a very big bet for me in terms of a series bet. Over 5.5 games in this series. I also have a small sprinkle on Montreal at +425 series price. I just think it's close. Like Vegas could win this series, but to me, it's closer than that price indicates. And it's more competitive this series than that price indicates as well. So nothing really in game one. In terms of player props, the one thing I do like here, I like Carey Price over saves tonight. I just get that sense that Montreal could be a little not sloppy defensively, but they could have the play dictated to them a little bit. Like you're in Vegas, this is going to be the first time you're in that crazy environment. Hell, you haven't been in anything close to an environment that loud, rooting against you, as you will tonight. And I just get the sense that Vegas could be one of those teams to dictate terms tonight a little bit in this game. So if you have access to those kind of props, either Vegas over total shots on goal, some books have it as shots on goal, other books have it as goalie save props, but either one, you could go Vegas over team total shots, you could go Carey Price over saves. I know Carey Price over saves is 28.5. So Carey Price over 28.5 saves at -130. I like that prop quite a bit, because I do think Vegas is going to, and remember, if Petrie doesn't play, your pairings on the blue line are screwed up a little bit tonight. If you're Dominic Ducharme, plus the extended time off, you could see Vegas forechecking them to death a little bit tonight here in game one. So I like that prop. I think that's probably the best bet for me in this game. I don't love goal scorer props because I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I don't love the side with the number being where it is. I lean to the under. I might have a small bet on that, 5.5. The bet I like most of all tonight in game one is Carey Price over 28.5 saves. I just think he's going to be pretty busy. I think Vegas is a different animal in terms of their forecheck and their cycle game. Winnipeg's not a big forecheck team. Toronto certainly isn't. They're more of a flash and dash, get some good chances off the rush team. Vegas is going to pound them below the hash marks, below the net. And Montreal, that's going to be a different type of opponent for Montreal compared to the first two. So I could see that forecheck working tonight. They get a lot of shots on Carey Price tonight. So I like that prop a lot. Carey Price over 28.5 saves tonight. Or you could also bet conversely Vegas over team total shots on goal, over shots on goal, depending on what your book offers there. Jimmy, we'll turn it over to you. What do you think here of the series overall and also game one tonight, Montreal, Vegas?
I got to say, you got to take a breath in. You nailed
got
that.
It all in.
Whoa. No, you know what? I mean, I like a lot of what you're saying there. I can't believe that I'm jumping on that over 5.5 games too. I mean, that's ridiculous. How is that so low? People are just really still somehow sleeping on the Canadians. I mean, I do not see them going down before game 6 if they're going to lose this series, but I don't think they're going to lose. I'm already on record as saying the Habs will win this series in 6 games. I like them to come in tonight. I like this game. I'm going to stay away from the side. What I do like is this game to go to overtime. We've known the Canadians have had quite a few games go to overtime thus far, and they're really good in them, just like they were in 1993. And I like this game to go to overtime, and I like Carey Price to have a superb game, as do I with Marc-Andre Fleury. So I love the under in this game. I'm also going to take the under in the first period. So 3 bets there. Overtime, under total, under first period. As for this series, I just, like I said, people are sleeping right now. The Habs are a tenacious bunch. And you talked about the Islanders suffocating teams and always being down their throats. And the Habs are the same way. They get on you and they make you think too much. And then you cough the puck up. And before you know it, the puck's in your net. That's how they play. They're in your face and they're going to hustle. And, they don't have one guy that really stands out above the rest, but they've got a lot of grinders out there. And of course, Toffoli right now is having a great playoff. And I think Josh Anderson is maybe up for a big series. He's been kind of up and down really in the playoffs. Not really what we thought we would see after the regular season he had. So this might be his type of series, right? I'm very interested to see how Max Pacioretty does, though. I think it's interesting. I mean, maybe we're not in Canada, and so maybe I'm not hearing enough about it. But I just thought this would be a bigger story that Max Pacioretty is playing the Montreal Canadiens for the right to go to the Stanley Cup Final. I mean, I just thought it would be great if somehow the Canadiens could have traded for Chris Kreider or something in the middle and gone back to 2014. Because if you think about it, that's Pacioretty's last time that he was this far in the playoffs was with that Canadian team, and the same for the Canadiens as well. I think Pacioretty right now could be an X factor. Maybe he freezes under this pressure. Maybe he freezes against his old team and thinks too much about it, or maybe he seizes the moment and shines here, and he's been doing that lately. So he's a guy to watch, I think, for goal scoring props, and maybe even the other guy on the other side of that trade. Maybe he's got something under his bonnet, and he wants to prove a little. Hey, you regret, let me go in that trade. Well, this is what you're missing right now. So that's another guy might be a good little fun prop for a goal scorer each game. Who knows? So let's see what happens, guys. I think it's going to be a long series. I think it's going to be an exciting series. I think it will have a little more action. Won't be as much of a trap as we saw last night in the Islanders and Lightning. But like I said, I like to have in 6 to win this series. And, of course, I also took the Islanders in 7.
Yeah, it's underdog city for Jimmy Murphy here in the Stanley Cup semifinals. And hell, I'm kind of leaning to the dogs too, because I certainly didn't bet the favorites. But what I did was I attacked it a different way. I went with over 5.5 games in both series, which is kind of a lean to the underdog when you're doing that anyway, because that's basically a bet that the underdogs, the Islanders and Montreal, are going to compete, in these two series and be right in them. And I that's exactly what I think in both of them. And then I don't have to worry about, if they fall just short, which could happen. So that's why, and I was shocked by the prices, stunned that we're talking just for the series to get to 6, bare minimum 6. And we're talking even money to bet over 5.5 games for Montreal, Vegas, -140, which is still not that bad for the other series, the Islanders, Tampa, over 5.5 games. And I'm feeling good already because the Islanders already have 1 win in their pocket. So now if you're that's why that for that bet over 5.5 games, it was big for the Islanders to win that game yesterday, because now it really puts that series in a good position potentially to be going a long way. So excited to see the Islanders get that win. And I think Montreal can push it to at least 6 here as well. And you know what? I may sprinkle on these two guys, the two guys that are being talked about. Sportsnet.ca, they already have an article on the website today talking about the trade and it being one of the main event storylines coming into this series. Nick Suzuki and Max Pacioretty. I will be looking probably game in and game out at some goal scoring props for those two guys, Pacioretty and Suzuki. Suzuki's +400 to score a goal tonight. It's hard to ignore that price. And Pacioretty, of course, in that usual range, +150, +160. But I actually think both of them want to play with purpose and try to prove, they're still, not that they feel totally slighted by that trade, but deep down inside, you kind of want to show, hey, I want to stick it to the old team if I'm Max Pacioretty. And Nick Suzuki, well, you wanted to get Max Pacioretty and you thought I would be the guy you could deal because, you didn't want to keep me a long term here in Vegas. So I want to show you, I'm sure there's some sentiment there for Nick Suzuki along those lines. So I think looking at those two players in terms of goal scoring props, Pacioretty and Suzuki for each side, is definitely something I would consider not only tonight, but maybe moving forward throughout the course of this series as well. But it's a fascinating series. I can't wait to see game 1 tonight and see how it all unfolds. Like I said, I like that Carey Price over saves, over 28.5 saves prop. Again, if your book offers team shots on goal instead of goalie saves, then I endorse that as well over Vegas Golden Knights over shots on goal tonight in this game as well, because I could see, especially if they're without Petrie, and let me see if I can get the latest update on Jeff Petrie tonight. Yeah, he was in non-contact jersey at the morning skate in Vegas today. So that tells you all you need to know. He will not be in the lineup tonight in game 1. So short-handed blue line. I could see it, Jimmy, a little bit more trouble getting the puck out of the zone tonight. And having that, getting that crisp first pass, getting the puck with Vegas, the way they forecheck and they just try to keep you hemmed
Yeah.
in your own zone. So that's why I like the Vegas over shots on goal prop or Carey Price over saves prop. I think a lot of rubber could be coming Carey Price's way tonight.
Yeah, we mentioned it, I think, before when Petrie went down, and just how out of sorts they were when he was out in the regular season, right? It was like an 11-game stretch or something, and they were cruising, and all of a sudden he got hurt, and just boom, they just nosedived. And it's because of how much he means to that back end and the offense. It's how he gets the play going, coming out of the defensive zone through the neutral zone. He creates the play in the other end and really generates. And he's, I think that's an underrated loss. That could be a huge loss in this series. I mean, if the Canadians do go on to lose this series, you might look back and say, well, they really missed Petrie, because they do. And that's always been something I think that this Canadians team for the last few years has missed a guy like Petrie, and he was able to find his own and really, really shine this year. I thought, if he didn't get hurt this year, he could have been a Norris Trophy candidate for sure, the way he was going. So that's how much he means to this club. They're going to have to work as a unit and compensate for that, and the forwards are really going to have to come back and help out.
Yep, got to be a 5-man defensive unit. Hell, it should be that for every team at this stage of the Stanley Cup playoffs, but even more important that message is reinforced to the team tonight without Jeff Petrie. The forwards got to help out these blue liners, because look, they are going to have to play Kulak and Romanov a little bit more, and you're going to have to get a little bit more from your depth of blue liners. And hopefully, though, like I said, Ducharme will play Weber, Edmondson, and Sherrod in particular more minutes tonight. There's no reason not to. You've been off forever. These guys are fresh. This is the night where you extend minutes, in my opinion, for your top defenseman here in Game 1. Great stuff, Jimmy. Great analysis. We thanks to everyone in the chat for tuning in. By the way, I want to mention an announcement about tomorrow's show. Earlier in the playoffs, you'll remember we had a special guest on the game day of one of the Minnesota Wild's playoff games with Terry Edelman. He joined us on an edition of the Ice Guys, one of the days that Minnesota played during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Well, we're going to have another viewer joining us tomorrow on the show on a game day for the team that he's a fan of, the New York Islanders. Earl Sports Bets, Nicholas Earl, who was with us on one of the betcasts, I think the very first one, if I'm not mistaken. He'll be joining us on the Tuesday edition of the show tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, for a special preview of the Islanders and the Lightning Game 2 tomorrow night. I know he's excited in the chat. I see him now. Yes! So we will have Nicholas Earl joining us on the Ice Guys show tomorrow to preview Game 2, Islanders and Lightning. Looking forward to that for sure. Before we get to best bets to wrap up today's show, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. Great time of year. NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, MLB. We've got U.S. Open golf this week. And football's only 2 months away. It'll be here before you know it. A great time of year to check out DraftKings. When you download the app, sign up for an account, you'll get deposit bonus, you'll get weekly specials, weekly incentives, bet boosts, and more. So check out DraftKings, download the app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN. All right, best bets. Just obviously one game. It's going to be that way the rest of the season with our Ice Guys shows. Only one game to choose from, but we still want to throw out a best bet at you, even if it's just a lukewarm bet based on only having one game at our disposal. But Jimmy, a best bet for you from tonight's Game 1, Montreal Vegas. What do you got?
I'm going to go with the under on the whole game there, the under 5.5. I just think this is going to be a goalie duel right from the get-go. Like I said, I'm smelling overtime. I think I think you called it right. I think it's going to be one of those games where Vegas pours it on and they control the tempo, and Carey keeps bailing them out, and the Habs stick around, and then they take it in overtime is my gut feeling. But I'm going to stick with just going with the overtime there. But the best bet is under for me.
All right, under 5.5, minus 130. Best bet in Game 1, Montreal Vegas for Jimmy Murphy. By the way, the draw is plus 350. What a price it is on that. The draw for this game, and I might even sprinkle a couple bucks on that. My best bet is going to be a rare player prop best bet. Well, it depends on the book. Again, as I mentioned, some books offer goalie saves props. Some books instead offer team shots on goal props. So whatever your book offers, I endorse both of them. Vegas over shots on goal, or Carey Price over saves. The book I used had goalie saves, so that's the one I went with. Carey Price over 28.5 saves, minus 130. I like that one a bit. Short-handed blue line without a key defender in Jeff Petrie. More minutes for guys I don't trust, like Brett Kulak and some other depth blue liners. There's going to be, the pairings are messed up. There's going to be a little bit of a lack of chemistry and cohesion on that back end, and I think they could be susceptible to that Vegas forecheck, which is very strong, could hem Montreal in their own zone, and obviously that will lead to more shots and more chances on Carey Price. So Carey Price over 28.5 saves, minus 130. That will be my best bet for Game 1, Montreal-Vegas tonight. That'll wrap up this show. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live on YouTube 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, noon Eastern. Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, make sure you download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeart. You can find the podcast on all those platforms. For Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy Game 1, Montreal-Vegas, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Tuesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.